In episodes 3 and 4 of Cherish Today, we start to really understand why Ellis, when he first started to realize that something could be possible with Sunday again, he wanted to take things slow rather than just rush into things. So, starting off with episode 3, Ellis realizes that him trying to friend zone or put Sunday on ice has potentially ended any potential of them having a relationship. So rather than, try to reach out from phone, text, anything like that, he decides he's going to surprise her. And on his way to Atlanta, he ends up in Louisiana, specifically St. Joe, and runs into Hollywood when he goes to Aunt Vi's Pies for some time. But while there, he runs into a woman named Randy, who is the actual wife of the actor who plays Ellis. And, she hits him up, makes it very clear she wants to draw him like one of those French girls, or however the saying goes from Titanic. And he says no. He right now is very much committed to the idea of being with Sunday, so thank you, but no thank you is his attitude. Leading to him going to Atlanta, where Sunday is preparing for the Tanya Holland show and them doing their kitchen table segment, and she's a little bit nervous. Thankfully, her best friend, or one of her friends, Toy, they build her up. Mendu, her right hand, built her up, and with that, VFC, her place, which is short for the Vegetarian Food Collective, they got nothing to worry about. Sunday staff, from the all-woman kitchen staff to, I want to say mostly queer, but it's hard to tell. One, definitely makeup and everything done, there's no question. Even though when you think about that, could be stereotypical. But point of the matter is, when it comes to the Tanya Holland segment, it goes well. And as, Sunday's smoozing with her people, working in the kitchen, all that, Ellis is just watching in amazement. He even sends a bottle over, and that leads to Mendu getting to meet Ellis, as well as the bartender, who, of course, delivers a bottle. And Sunday's kind of like, she's sort of happy that he's there, but at the same time, she's not really past him trying to pull the whole, oh, let's just be friends. She's not really for that. But at this point, she sees the effort that's being made. It's not like she's dating anybody else, so she decides to let Ellis chat her up a bit, which ultimately leads to him saying all the right things like he did with her father, and by the end of the night, the two have sex. Which leads us to episode 4. In episode 4, it's clear that at this point, Ellis and Sunday are, if they're not back together officially, they're pretty much on the fast lane to it, but there still remain some issues. On one hand, there's MV, who, one of these days I'm going to learn how to pronounce his actual first name, but his memory's starting to get worse, and he even accuses Ellis of potentially stealing his wallet while they're working in Sunday's mother's garden, and it kind of leads you to wonder, what was his perception of Ellis back in the day? Like, was this just because he wouldn't think Sunday would steal from him, but Ellis could? Did Ellis possibly have legal issues back in the day that we're not aware of? If not, because Ellis isn't, someone who comes for money, could it be that there was a point where Envy thought that maybe he was just trying to get with Sunday as a gold digger type of thing? Because, of course, men could be gold diggers as well. Don't get it twisted. But that isn't really explored much. All we know is that Envy's memory is getting worse and worse. But what's also getting a little complicated, if not bad, is Sunday realizing the complications which comes from dating a man with not only children, but also an ex-wife. And what makes it even more difficult is that Ellis hasn't made any kind of boundaries, or at least the kind of boundaries which would have it where Anastasia would recognize that you cheated on your husband, you're with this new man, you live with this new man, you abandon your kids to be with this man full time and have a bit of a selfishness in your life. So calling your soon-to-be ex-husband, since they're just separated, we have not heard that they were divorced yet, so calling him, being Ellis, when you're stuck out in Alabama, expecting him to pick you up with your mama and your youngest daughter with him in the back. I'm not saying that Ellis is a bad guy for dropping everything to protect and get his daughter into a safe place, but it's hard not to see Anastasia as a bit manipulative, exploitive, a lot of negative terms when it comes to her calling Ellis, of all people, just because Danny is out in New York touring or whatever. And let it be clear, this isn't lost on Sunday either. Ellis dropping everything to get to his wife and child reminds her that she's not, well, more often than not, she is going to be one of Ellis's top priorities. But if his kids get involved, and maybe even if Anastasia gets involved, she may drop a few places, and wrapping her mind around that is going to be difficult, especially because Ellis is showing where she stands on what is a very important night for her when she's getting an award. So if he's willing to drop everything for his ex-wife and his kid on a day she's getting an accolade, what does that mean on a normal day? And it seems just like how Ellis was lying to his oldest daughter about him hanging out with her and the lying. This is something that she's not going to necessarily, and Sunday, she's not going to address it right now, but you can, in my mind, she's definitely going to bring it up later on. It's going to be part of whatever argument they're building up to in regards to Ellis potentially being ready to full on be in a relationship versus dating, courting, or just messing around, potentially exclusively. And I say potentially exclusively not because of the aforementioned Randy, who we don't see this episode, but more so Hosea, who's a person that Sunday used to mess around with and like go to random places, eat, have sex, maybe check out a few things, but she, from what we are told, was never in a full on boyfriend, girlfriend, that's my boo type of relationship. But while Ellis is off to Alabama and then rushing back since Anastasia's car gets fixed and off she's able to go, Hosea comes to Sunday's event, and with him seeing Ellis's name at the place that Sunday was putting him, since she thought Ellis wasn't going to show up, he's put on notice. And when he's put on notice, he tries to last minute see, like, hey, can we define this relationship? I see that now, unlike in the past, you seem open to the idea. Is it too late for me? And the answer is yes. Now, we're less than halfway through the season, so, keeping season 1 always in thought, there's always a chance that Randy and Hosea may get a chance, fail, and then, we're back to Sunday and Ellis being together, but who knows? The only thing that is clear right now is that Hosea is not going to be the one, and when it comes to Ellis, Sunday has to wrap her mind around Sunday has to wrap her mind around the fact that Bree, Ellis' older daughter, and Anastasia are part of the package that comes with being with Ellis. So the first highlight for us is just getting to see why Ellis was not really trying to rush into a relationship. He fully recognized that he has not had the proper conversations with Anastasia yet. And also, I think in a way he's also recognized that he's been dragging his feet on this. And now with, having someone who he actually wants to make an effort to be in a relationship with, now he has to catch things up to speed. He has to have this sit-down conversation with Anastasia saying, hey, you just can't enter and go out of our house. Well, our former house. You moved out because you wanted to be with your little... And, he has to draw boundaries. He has to figure out when it comes to co-parenting how they're going to handle that since, yes, Anastasia seemingly abandoned their kids, but the way Bree acts, she still loves her mom very much. And I don't see Ellis as a type to, go for a custody battle and all that just because his wife is trifling. Yes, she's a trifling partner, but that doesn't mean she's necessarily all the way a trifling mother. At least I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. It's very difficult because just everything said about her and how it was shown, how she acts, it just makes it seem like, I won't say vapid, but you can see the sort of selfishness, even though the way that Ellis put it, and I know I'm going back and forth with my thoughts, but Ellis, you can see, is trying to be a good man when it comes to talking about Anastasia and, give her some type of grace. But from what we see, what she says, it's hard to do that as a viewer. And I don't want to call Ellis a punk, but I definitely think he's the type who may not be fond of confrontation. And I'm talking about productive confrontation. I like get into a fight or argument, but looking for a resolution to a problem that is, long standing. And he knows at this point when it comes to Sunday, he's going to either have to have that conversation with Anastasia so that can be resolved, or potentially accept the fact that he's not ready for Sunday, she deserves better, and he needs to let her go and walk away. Only could go two ways. The second highlight is just seeing Sunday in her element. With Ellis, it's been established that he's a cool, smooth-talking brother, that he knows how to do plumbing, he can fix up a house. His whole life has been built up for most of these episodes. So getting a glimpse of Sunday outside, her taking care of her father was appreciated. We got to see her business, we got to see her staff who are diverse, but also, she's creating the environment that she perhaps wishes she had when she was coming up for getting her experience before she had a restaurant. All female staff inside the kitchen means you don't gotta worry about subtle or not so subtle sexual harassment, touching, or anything like that. Because you can see with her wait staff, it's people who know how to be friendly, but also seem to know what a line is, which is also important. That's handled, and will also show that she has a booming business. We saw that also through either episode 2, I want to say, when she's able to call this place and that place in order to get what she needs. She has created, or else became part of, a notable community, and I could only hope as we go into episode 5, 6, etc., we still get to see more of her world and not so much just Ellis's world with her, being a featured guest in it. The last highlight I want to bring up is Sunday's friend Pia, who we didn't mention in recap for episode 3, but I feel it's important because Pia is not only Sunday's hair braider, but she's one of her close friends alongside Mendu and also Toy. And one of the things that Pia says to Sunday deals with how inspirational she is. And adding on to how episode Free Willy builds up Sunday, getting to see all of her friends and seeing how she's not just a friend in terms of let's gossip or, vent to each other, but actually build each other up or inspire each other, it's something that's real notable. Because it's one thing to have a mentor who's, kind of on a pedestal who you look up to and all that, but to have a peer, to have a friend who's doing well, can give you that advice, right then and there, and you feel like you have true access to without kind of having to give bow down, homage type of feelings, it's important. It's important to have access to people like that and feel a type of connection that's less so business and more so personal. And I don't know. I guess what I also appreciate is that it's one of the few conversations in the show where you can see it has nothing to do with men. It has nothing to do with Ellis. It doesn't have to do with Pia's romantic interests. It's about two friends who are women, black women, having a conversation about life, future, and what I'm trying to go over in my head is how often do you see scenes like that? Because I can talk about Reasonable Doubt, I can talk about Queen Sugar, and it doesn't seem in the few shows that I can really think of offhand that you get too many conversations between women, especially black women, that doesn't have to deal with men drama or anything like that. Just having a conversation about business, upping each other, stuff like that. It's unfortunately rare, but at the same time, that's what makes Cherish Today so special, is that yes, it is a romantic drama, but it wants to make sure that it can build out both sides of the story in order to show two independent people who don't necessarily need each other, but because of certain things, they want each other, which is what makes it so more romantic than what you often get, where it seems like one side is dependent well, either that there's a mutual dependency or that one side is dependent until they realize they don't need the other person, and then they're independent, the other person realizes it needs them, and all that's just drama. Even if it's somebody in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, it's the formula that we're used to, and because of that, it's kind of dull. But again, Cherish today seemingly wants to do something different, and it's appreciated more than I could possibly say. Overall, I appreciate how these two episodes showed why Ellis was trying to be friends with Sunday and kind of, slow things down a bit, yet also recognize that this woman is not going to come into his life 3 times. He's not going to get 3 opportunities to be the man he should have been the first time. And at the same time, as much as Ellis is a nice fixture in Sunday's life, he's not everything. She has a father to worry about since he's starting to get Alzheimer's, dementia. I always forget the definitions for each one so I don't get confused by the two. And on top of that, she has a full ass business that she's dealing with. Never mind Hosea, who not only is a Morehouse man who got money, who could, be a real good asset, but has probably wanted her for a long time, but because she put him on ice, he kind of accepted his position. And now he doesn't want to be stuck there if he knows that, hey, if you're ready, I've been in the wings waiting. So we get a very good romance and a good amount of drama with Cherish today right now. And it's not to the point of being like over the top or underwhelming. It just has this real good balance that I hope that we can keep going with.